Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to my YouTube channel. My name is Lydia. I am the Fun Finance Queen, your money mentor online. Today what we want to talk about is financial freedom or financial independence. The two are exactly the same thing, but I want to be able to explain it to you and then take the time to address how we can potentially get there. So financial freedom, I have multiple definitions here and I really just want to walk you through some of them. So the first one is when your residual income exceeds your expenses. When your residual income exceeds your expenses. So residual income is income that you don't necessarily have to go to a 9-to-5 job for and earn. Okay, so that's your residual income. So it exceeds your expenses. So in other words, you have a little bit extra coming in that you don't necessarily have to work for. Sounds good, right? I like the sound of that. Another definition is when you have assets that outweigh your liabilities. You have assets that outweigh your liabilities. It's pretty much exactly the same thing. You have assets that generate income that exceeds the debt that you have. You have assets that generate income that exceeds the debt that you have. Sounds pretty good because again, it means that you could live to infinity without having to go out and get a job. Another definition is having enough assets to ensure you don't have to work a 9-to-5 anymore. Having enough assets that generate enough income so you don't have to work a 9-to-5 job anymore. And the last one that I found was being able to make decisions without financial restrictions. Being able to make decisions without financial restrictions. So those are 4 definitions which kind of just put it in different ways and tell us what financial independence or financial freedom is. So guys, all those fancy words mean is that we have the ability to generate enough income from assets so we don't have to work a 9-to-5 anymore. That's my favorite definition of the lot that I gave you just now. So that said, how is it possible to even do this? Well, let's think about it, right? All throughout the ages, people have worked up until a certain age and then they've retired, right? So for my dad, for example, it might have been till he was 55, okay? But the state has kept pushing that number up every single time. So I think we're now at about 67 or something like that. It's crazy. But what people did in those times was they worked and they saved enough money so that there would be a time in their life where they don't have to go to a 9-to-5 job. And that was called retirement. So what I'm actually proposing to you is doing that earlier. So instead of using the first 55 to 67 years of your life trying to generate an income that you could live off for your retirement, how about we do it earlier in life? So I've heard of people who've retired at 35, 37, 39, 49. It's doable if you know what you're doing. So what do we typically do to save for retirement? So most people put money in a pension, or they put money away in property, or they generate income that they know they could live on in the long term. How is that done? So let's think about it, right? What is a pension? A pension is usually a pot that people put money into that is then invested on our behalf so we can generate an income in our retirement years. So why can't we do that now? How about saving enough to put into that pot so people like you and me could retire early and we don't have to wait till age 67? I love the idea of that. So that's what financial freedom is. It's basically being able to retire off the income that you generate from your assets. Those assets could be stocks, they could be mutual funds, they could be property, they could be whatever you want. But that is the idea. So I'm saying you could do it the traditional way, which is you wait till 67 to retire, or you do it the non-traditional way, where you generate income from other sources from the income that you're earning now, and you grow that potential to create an income that you could live off without having to do a 9-to-5. We're seeing a lot more of this amongst millennials, and I think it's awesome. So it generates the ability for people to be more creative. So imagine if you're able to say, okay, I have X amount coming from stocks that I've invested in, or mutual funds or bonds, and I can live off this if I tailor my budget accordingly. I think it's an exciting proposal, guys, and I really want you to consider the reality of making this happen. We don't necessarily have to work until we're 67 because there are other ways to generate income apart from having a job if we plan properly. So I'm not saying this is easy, but that's what financial independence is. So Let's talk about some ways in which we can do this. Okay, so my favorite way is property. Why? Because property tends to generate larger pieces of cash flow. So, for example, if you buy a property and the principal, interest, tax, and insurance on that property comes to about £1,000, and your rent for the property is about 1,400, give and take, you're playing with about 400, maybe about 300 to be honest, cash flow that could generate income for you. So if you have multiple properties like that, that could generate that kind of cash flow for you, and you might not need a job. But I'm not telling you that owning property is easy. It's not. So if you own property, somebody has to manage it, and it's most likely going to be you, or you manage the person who managed it for you. It's not passive income, guys, and I don't think there's such a thing. But I do think that it's important that you understand that it is possible. Okay, so you're going to ask me now, where do I get the down payment from? Well, you ever heard of crowdfunding, or have you heard of people who do this together as groups, or families that buy this kind of stuff together? It is possible. What I'm saying is, don't try to do it all alone. Find options where you might be able to work with people who are like-minded, like you, and you can actually make these decisions together. It's not completely impossible, and I don't want you to write it off, because instead of saying it is impossible, or I could never do that, you should be asking yourself, having heard this, how can I do that? How can I make it possible? So let's talk about that in the comments below, please. All right, another option with a lot lower threshold in terms of entry or barrier to entry is stocks. So you don't even have to buy a whole stock. You can buy portions of stock using certain apps nowadays. And that allows you to be able to begin to build wealth that will generate dividends for you in the future. So you don't have to have £1 million to be able to buy stock. We're not talking about Amazon or Tesla price stocks. There are other stocks that are much more affordable that we can dig into. So look into the options, for example, of, cheaper stocks, things that you use every day. How much do those stocks cost? If you go to a shop, how much does the shares of those stocks cost? How much would you be able to purchase if you set money aside to do that every month? So we all use stores, we all use shops, we all use products. Those are the things we should research, because we're actually involved in the use of them. So guys, it's not impossible. It's definitely doable for us to be able to create financial freedom or financial independence, but it takes several things. It takes planning and it takes effort. Okay, so it's something that's doable, but I want to encourage everyone to open our mindsets, open our minds to create the option within us to say we might not have to work until we're 67, and plan towards a better life at a younger age. How about that, guys? Please tell me what your thoughts are. I really hope this helped somebody. It's a lot to take in, but I want us to know that we have the art of the impossible in our hands, and we can make it possible. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you